You're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
You can find us online by visiting clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for new topics, send us a text to 252-582-5028, or you can email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right. We want you guys to help us keep the conversation moving forward. You can do that by supporting the show. Share it online with your friends and family. Leave us a good 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasting content from. We're going to leave a couple of links in the description so you can do just that.
The verse of the day today is coming from Daniel chapter 6, verse 4. So the governors and satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge or fault because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him.
Always got to be some conniving, musty, mildew, old satraps.
Musty, crusty, and dusty.
What is it, governors and satraps?
Satraps.
Guaranteed, if you meet someone in your life and they go, hey, what's going on? I'm so-and-so, I'm a satrap.
Ew.
That's a trap.
Already can't stand you.
That's a sad trap to fall into. You know, that's how it's always going to be. There's always going to be people who are looking to trip you up in your life. And it's crazy. You would tend to think that you could live your life and people just don't want to bother you. They just want to live their life. But it's not the case. There's always going to be people who are so either miserable in their life or so insecure or unstable that they don't want to improve. They don't want to live their life. They just want to trip you up when you're doing well.
And it's often when you are living life the way that God intended you to live life. When you're like backsliding, when you're struggling in sin, it's usually people aren't trying to trap you or catch you. But when you're living well and you're standing out in excellence, just like Daniel was doing here, people are going to, try to undermine you. They're going to try to find fault in you. But Daniel lived above reproach so that literally the only thing they could charge him with was praying.
That's right. The Christian life is offensive to people.
Yeah.
Not just because it's exclusive, but because it puts you in a higher plane of being. And I mean, I know in our culture we don't like to hear that, but that's exactly what it is. It elevates you. It elevates you to a child of God.
Yeah.
And people on the outside of that are always going to feel envy, and they're going to look at you and look at your success, look at your blessings, and be like, well, I don't know why I don't have that.
Yeah.
It's because you're not following God. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, okay. What can we do?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a great verse for us.
The way that you can stand out and live above reproach, live a life of excellence, is by making God's word a daily part of your life. And you can do that through downloading the Date the Word app, a partial sponsor of today's episode. Our verses of the day come from the Date the Word app, and it's available for free on iPhone or Android.
Yep.
Every single day connects today's date with God's word with the hope of making it more memorable for you.
We got to gripe about something.
Oh, no.
Let's welcome the people in and get right to it. Welcome to the grapevine. Doink. I like this little thing. I know it's like a little juice harp or something. I don't know what that is. Sounds like a... Anyway. So, okay. I got distracted there. I got 2 kids. You got 5 kids.
Yes.
So I'm sure
that's not the gripe.
No, that's not the gripe. But I'm
Somebody
sure...
was like, I can't believe they have a grapevine. Calm down. That's not the gripe.
The grapevine, for any new listeners, this is the segment of our show where we find something that's just a little annoying, a little obnoxious, and we gripe about it on air, because these are things that you want to gripe about too. Y'all just ain't got a radio show.
Yeah.
So my kids, or one kid, I should say, my older son, Gavin, 3 years old, he gets out of his bed. Not throughout the night. He does it early morning. And he comes into my room and he puts his face into my face. Here's and that's a gripe in and of itself, but Ellie sleeps on the side of the bed closest to the door. That means that my son has to bypass her, walk around the bed, wedge himself up between the bed and the wall, get in my face. Dada. Dada. And then I'm scared awake. I'm like, what? What is this? What? He's like, can I have a juice? Can I have a snack?
Yep.
And I'm like, you better get your mind back in that bed.
Yep.
And he's so tenderhearted that if you get onto him, if you like get back in the bed, he's like, he runs away. Now, Ellie and we got to get up and deal with that.
Yep.
It's a trap every time. I don't know how he's getting out of the room.
Yeah.
But he can turn the doorknob. He's a 3-year-old, but we push it too, and we have it bolted where he can't get out. But somehow Ellie's not locking the door when she puts him to bed, and he's getting out. And every morning he's in my face. Did that ever happen to you?
Oh my gracious! It happened with all of our kids, every single one of them, multiple times. But the one that stands out in memory is my oldest son Noah. He's 11 now. This was probably when he was maybe 7. So younger, but not so young that we're like in the toddler years.
Yeah,
He's well into elementary school at this point. We're asleep, okay? He comes into our room. This is like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Middle of
the night. I'm dead to the world asleep. He gets real close. He goes, Dad. Daddy. Dad. Like here.
Yeah. His nose is almost touching your nose.
Dad. And of course I'm like, what? Is everything okay? I'm thinking like, you fell out of bed, you hurt yourself.
Someone's in the house.
Like there's someone's bleeding, you threw up, like someone is sick. He was like, I went to the bathroom. And I was like, in your bed? And he went, no.
I just wanted to update you.
Like,
he was potty trained, right?
Oh, yeah, for years at that point. I was like, okay, do you need me? And he was like, no. It's like, okay, go back to bed. Okay.
I don't understand it. It's like kids need to be out of bed. They need to do something. Gavin will do that to where he's like, he doesn't need anything. He's searching for something. He's like, I wanted wanted to see if I could, to know if I could have a juice.
Like, Holden wanted to know if you could have a juice. No.
Yeah. I don't know why kids do that, but man, it is really the first couple of times it's like, oh, well, whatever. But then it happens morning after morning after morning at like 5, 6 a.m. Yeah. It's getting old.
Now the flip side of that is so that was our oldest son, Noah. Our youngest son, Asher. So we have our oldest is a boy, our youngest is a boy, and there's girls in between.
Right.
Asher is the opposite of that, where he will get out of bed, come and get in the bed with Elizabeth and I, and we will have no idea. Like I'll wake up in the morning and he's there. I'm like, how did you get here?
How did you get in this bed?
When did you get here? And he's just there, sound asleep. I'm like, when did this happen?
He levitates himself in so as not to wake y'all up.
Somehow he does. He gets in the bed and in between us, under the covers.
That's what I was going to ask. Is he asleep? Oh, he's under the covers and everything. He gets in. He makes his little bed. He nestles in between.
I'm like,
y'all.
Either we were totally out last night, or you are some kind of ninja.
Is it often, or is it just every now and then?
It's every now and then. But enough times that it's
where it's a pattern.
Like, how did you do this again?
Got you.
How did this happen?
Wow.
I wonder if that happened, and which ones of the Shah children that happened with.
I'm gonna say Nicholas.
I'm gonna say Nicholas.
One of the boys
Nicholas.
for sure. Definitely.
I was thinking Nicholas or Abigail.
No, it's Abby for sure.
You think Abigail?
I don't know that as a fact, but she just strikes me as that.
Nicholas
type.
is saying it was Abigail.
I feel like it was either of the two of them. I can't really see Rebecca, and I can't really see Thomas.
So you would stay in your bed? You stay. I think as a kid I was pretty good about staying in my bed. My sister was not at all.
I don't remember.
Bedtime was a struggle for her.
I didn't have a choice but to stay in my bed.
Bedtime is often a circus.
My parents flipped the lock on me.
Well, so that's what I was going to say is that's always an option is you can turn it around and lock it from the outside.
Yes, that's what we do. Ellie's not locking the door. I don't know what's going on. I'll have to have a talk with her.
Well, hey, do this. Switch sides in the bed. That way when Gavin goes in there, he's waking Ellie up and not you.
That's a grapevine in and of itself. Maybe we'll gripe about that. How once you set your set your side of the bed at the beginning of the marriage, that's locked.
That's locked in for life,
Unfortunately, that's 100% locked in.
Write in and let us know if your kids have ever shocked you awake, 252-582-5028, or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. We'll be back after this.
Hello, Clearview family. I'm Nicole.
And I'm David.
And we want to talk to you today about the Clearview app.
You know, there are so many churches out there that put their sermons on YouTube and their announcements on Facebook and their prayer list on Periscope.
I didn't even know Periscope was still functional.
Oh, it's not. And that's why nobody can find their church's prayer list and nobody's prayers be getting answered. But here at Clearview, we believe in making our content as accessible as possible.
That's right. Clearview produces so much content every single week, including Dr. Shah's sermons, original music, a full online store, weekly prayer gatherings, and so much more.
Not to mention the #1 best-selling Christian talk show of all time.
I don't know if that's accurate.
Well, maybe not yet, but that's why we want people to download the app.
If you're listening from the Triangle area, we encourage you to check out Clearview Church in person. But if not, you can still follow all of our content on the Clearview app. It's 100% free on the Apple Store and Google Play Store. And best of all of our content is right there in one convenient spot.
Make sure you download the Clearview app today, and let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions or suggestions for new topics, send us a text at 252-582-5028.
That's right. We are here once again in the Clearview Today studio with Dr. Abadan Shah, who is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism, professor at Carolina University, author, full-time pastor, and the host of today's show. As always, you can find all his work on his website. That's abadanshah.com. Dr. Shah having a little problem at the house.
Okay.
Kids getting up in the middle of the night or early of a morning, just getting right in my face. Daddy.
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know. So I don't know how they're getting. Well, I know how they're getting out. Ellie's leaving their door unlocked.
Only one is getting out.
Only one's getting out. Yeah. Right. But it's this thing where it's like I'm waking up scared all the time. I'm waking up startled at all points of the night. And it's like I go to bed and I'm like, Ellie, did you lock the door? She's like, yes, I locked it. I'm like, do I need to get up and go check? Do you lock it? No, I locked it. Somehow he's getting out. I'm like, Ellie, you didn't lock it. She's like, oh, I must have forgot.
He's like Houdini.
But he gets up in my face. Like I wake up and he's like, Daddy, can I lay with you? I'm like, you better get
Did your kids ever wake you up like that, just like real close to the face, like, Daddy?
No, not really.
Or did they just end up being where they weren't supposed to be and it would startle you?
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened before.
Like they're so small, and when they want to, they're just super silent.
Yeah.
Like what was the last thing that you remember really startled you, like scared you to death?
I remember when I was in college, I used to work late night security.
Bad. That's already.
And so we had like this machine or just this device, really, and at different points on the campus, there were keys. So you have to go there and you have to turn the key into this device, and then you would leave. So that registers the fact that it's like a way to keep up with the security, so they're not sleeping in the
room, in the
office, instead of making the round. And I remember one time walking behind the gym, because there was a key set behind the gym where it is some lights are there, but then there's pitch dark field.
Oof.
You have to walk all the way back there. And sure enough, I went back there, and this big AC unit came on.
Yeah.
I jumped so high. Yeah.
So dark.
The security guard is the one person you don't want to be startling.
Well, people did that on purpose.
Really?
Yeah, they did that and there was a big joke about being Barney. Are you Barney? You know, it's like, yeah.
You guys better stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, no, not that Barney.
Oh, Barney the dinosaur?
No, Barney 5.
Yeah, that's Barney 5. I just can't do a good Barney 5.
Between Barney 5 and Barney.
It was kind of straddling the line between the two of them.
Andy, I love you. You love me, Andy.
You had like a Barney 5 dinosaur.
Yeah, I can't do
Barney 5. Yeah,
Don Knotts is hard to do. Some people can do it. I can't do Don.
It was good. It was kind of the border between
I was
the two.
like, I know he made that sound, but I don't know if it's Barney or Barney.
Nip it in the bud, boys and girls.
Don't cut the AC on, Andy.
This is a whole nother character now.
Yeah,
I can't do Don.
All I see is like Don Knotts with purple suit on.
Can I get some AC in here? The suit is hot.
That's hilarious. Fear can direct us in a variety of ways. It can direct us away from AC units that are terrifying us in the middle of the night. But it serves a purpose in our lives.
Yeah.
Fear is not just something that kind of creeps in unbeknownst to us at times, but it does serve a purpose. But unhealthy fear can cause us to misstep at times. It can cause us to make mistakes.
Isn't that weird? Like there's a healthy fear, but you can also fear incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, cause when I'm get like startled like that, or when I'm scared, or when I'm like even anxious about stuff that's coming, I've got that unhealthy fear. I can't think.
Yeah.
It's not even that I don't think. It's like it's decisions that I know in my right mind I would never even consider. I suddenly seem like I'm doing it. I'm going that way.
Yeah.
You know, when you said something about fear can be a good thing. You know, the Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Right. That's right.
So that is a good fear.
Yeah.
Fear
People
of the
try to
Lord.
minimize that. They're like, oh, that really just means, respect and reverence for God. I mean, that's part of it, but no, you should.
Yeah, and they try to
you should have fear.
Perfect love casts out how many fears? All fear. That means even that what you say, healthy fear. Now, perfect love casts that out too. It's like I don't know.
You want to be a little bit fearful of God.
That's right.
Maybe.
So yeah, there is a place for that fear. It's not dread, but there is a sense of awareness that God is God, you're not, and He can destroy you any moment, and yet by His grace and His mercy, which is also part of His character, that you're not destroyed.
Yeah.
That's right.
God even said that to Israel sometimes. He said, it's because of who I am that you are still alive. I think He says it like to Jacob, right? When He says Jacob, He's talking about the whole people of Israel, but He says, because I am a God of mercy, you're not destroyed.
That's right.
So do fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that healthy fear keeps us in step. You know what I mean? It keeps us where we should be. It keeps us, I don't want to say in line, but sort of that is what I mean. It keeps us remembering that there is a God and it's not me.
That's right. And Peter talks a lot about this kind of fear, and we're going to talk about that today. But he is quoting from Psalm 34. And very interestingly, Psalm 34, if you look at the preamble, I guess, for the psalm, or just that context that is given up on top, it says a psalm of David when he pretended madness before Abimelech, who drove him away and he departed.
Yeah.
And so if you know the situation that where he was before Abimelech, this king, this Philistine king, and all of a sudden he realized, oh no, I'm about to die. I'm about to die.
Yeah.
So he quickly got into a character.
I always love
acting masterclass with David.
like think about
Didn't your father-in-law did that one time?
Oh yeah. So my father-in-law, Ellie's father, was a police officer, and one time he was off duty. He didn't have his gun in the car. He said I kicked myself after for not having, but he left his gun in the car. He was off duty, and someone came in robbing the store, and he just pretended like he was insane. He was just like, oh, I don't know, I got to go, and just walked right out the door. He just pretended like he was insane, and he just left. He told me that story. I was like, oh my gosh.
Have you ever used it?
No, I've never been in that situation, thank goodness.
What
but
would
I
you do
think
if you
I
were?
might. I'd just be like, oh, okay, bye-bye. And just walk out. I would get myself out pretty quickly.
I was not expecting that. I don't know where I was expecting that story to go, but it was not there.
Yeah.
He pretended
Wow.
madness.
He pretended madness before the robber, and he got out with
The
his
guys are
life.
like,
Now here's my question. I asked him what he did. I was like, what did you do? He was like, I went home. I was like, you're an off-duty police officer.
you not go back in
You
for
didn't go,
guns
you
blazing.
didn't go get your gun and
Did
get
you
him?
miss the off-duty part?
I think he called.
I'm sure he called in.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think-
I'm sure. he
Oh
called.
man, that's fun.
But yeah, that was I remember that story.
Yeah.
He could probably tell it way better than
David
me.
puts on the character though. He quickly jumps into the acting role.
This little event in David's life, I don't know why, but it's one of my favorites because
Yeah.
it's like when I think of King David, I mean, of course I think of his sin, but I think of like the king,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the king, God's choice, a man after God's own heart, wise, philosophical, like
Strong. I mean, he killed a lion, a bear, and Goliath.
and Goliath, poetic,
Yeah.
musician, and then to see him before this guy, just like.
And he let his spit hang down.
all of his
Kind
beard.
of like, look like.
This wicked king is like, what? Who is this? Why? Get him out of here.
He even says, he's like, have I not enough idiots around here that you bring me one? He's one stressed out, frustrated king. Like,
And they brought this dude to him, and then he gets mad. David does this, and then the king gets mad at his people. Like, why did you bring this dude in here?
Get him out of here.
Get this guy.
and the people are like, he is the guy. He's like, just leave. Leave right now.
he drops the act. He's like, oh, I can go? You free? He said I could go?
I'll see
I
you
just
guys
thought this was my house, but you can go? All right.
But for our audience who's listening and or watching, and they're wondering what is going on,
I promise this is in the Bible.
this is in the Bible in 1 Samuel 21.
Yep.
And it's in verse 12. It says, now David took these words to heart and was very much afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. So he changed his behavior before them, pretended madness in their hands, scratched on the doors of the gate. That's a little extra added on. It's like,
Yeah.
let me throw this one in.
Just spice it up a
He's
little
like
bit.
clawing on the door.
And let his saliva fall down on his beard.
Bro.
That looks like
that's
Gavin when he was really young. He was always just drooling.
man. Yeah.
Constant drool.
Yeah, and like Gavin, he has not done this recently, but like if he gets into a full tantrum, which is very rare, he like loses that control. He doesn't even talk. He's just like,
And you're
like,
like,
yo.
cut it out.
he only did that in front of me once. I was like, don't never do that. I see David just like completely
Out
just
of control. What a
like
picture
Johnny
of-
from the Wild
What a
Thornberrys.
picture of celebrated king and hero David, the one who conquered Goliath. This is
I like how Dr. Shaw
is your
says it too.
king.
That's how you know the Bible is true. Because if the Bible was just stories, they would not have put that in there. They would not paint David in that light.
Now, this is a smart move, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But this is also a reminder, as John Maxwell talks about, we have eagle moments and then we have the hippo moments.
Hippo, eagle, and hippo.
Yes.
that's
So you
a
have the
great
eagle moments where
comparison.
you're soaring and
Yeah.
you are on the top of the world. You're living it up. You cannot make a mistake.
Right.
And then the hippo, what does the hippo want? He just wants to crawl up into some mud hole and just sit in there.
down.
Yeah, flop down.
Roll around
with
in the
his
mud.
little tail flopping around. So he went from being an eagle to a hippo.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And all of us do that. And the sooner we can acknowledge, me included, because when people hear me on the radio, they're like, wow, I love what he just said. How does he know so much? And I have plenty of hippo moments.
Same.
You just don't see it.
Same. Yeah. We cut them out.
We cut them out.
This is the magic of editing.
I have hippo moments at home. I have hippo moments at work. I have hippo moments in the community. I have my hippo moments.
That's so helpful to hear the difference between eagle and hippo moments, and that we all have them.
I see that.
And that's from John Maxwell, by the way.
I think we should name the title King David's Hippo Moment.
Yeah.
People will be looking at the show like, what in the
What is
world?
happening?
I got to
I have to
listen
listen to
to this. That's
this.
a great
It's crazy.
title. King
right.
David's Hippo Moment.
Yeah, let's just go for it.
I love it.
So he was, so the reason is fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was afraid.
Yeah.
And I love it because 1 Samuel is one of those books that you and I have looked at so many times, and it's got so many of these different stories where fear led not only David but all of God's people to completely turn away from him and cause their own fate.
And do things that were so contrary to that nature or that personality that God had given to them. And for David, it went from just chapter 17 to chapter 20. Chapter 20 in just 4 chapters.
He went from eagle to hippo in 4 chapters.
From eagle to hippo.
Wow.
I mean, so think about chapter 17. He killed Goliath with a slingshot and saved the armies of Saul, right? I mean, that's an eagle moment, I would say.
Yeah.
He was a hero in Israel. No big deal because he had already killed a lion and a bear and rescued a lamb from their mouth. Then he gained favor of Saul, who wouldn't let him go back home. And in fact, Jonathan, Saul's son, and David became best friends. So you are friends with the prince of Israel.
Right. And the king finds you so valuable. He's like, you can't go home. You got to be here. That's how valuable you are.
Yeah.
And he went out and he fought against the Philistines with great success, to the point that there was a slogan in Israel at the time, which is Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s.
Yeah.
So I mean, you are the man.
Yeah.
And then Saul has his spirit, his demons, literally.
Yeah.
And so he tries to kill David, and David escapes and all of that. Chapter 19, Jonathan tries to convince Saul that David was loyal to him, which helped for a little while, but then Saul was back to the same old mindset and went back to hating David. Chapter 20, Saul once again tried to kill David. And at first, Jonathan didn't believe David, but he realized quickly that it is true his father had this inherent hatred for David because he felt like David was going to come after his throne, something he was hoping to pass down to Jonathan. And so then we begin to find out what's going to happen next, and David has to flee for his life, and he flees and goes to the Philistines. But before he does that, we find in chapter 21, he came to Nob, which is a place, to Ahimelech the priest. And Ahimelech was a great-grandson of Eli the high priest. You wondering?
I didn't know that.
And Ahimelech was afraid when he met David and said to him, "Why are you alone? And no one is with you." So this man of God, instead of breathing hope and faith into David, the future king, he's like, "What are you doing here? Oh no, wait. I don't know what you're up to, but I don't like this."
Yeah.
And then the word for afraid is sharad, which means to be terrified or trembling. And of course, he must have heard about the feud going on between Saul and David. And he's like, "I don't want to get involved."
Yeah.
Do you know people like that who don't want to get involved?
Oh, yeah. Ahimelech is afraid of David because he knows there's actual beef going down, but he's so scared of getting caught up in the crossfire. He's
He's like, "I don't want to be part of this.
Leave me alone."
It's
Y'all-
like, yo,
y'all take
I
that somewhere
will
else.
literally die if you don't help me. It's like, better you than me.
Right. And God had pronounced a curse on the house of Eli, who would not discipline his sons, Hophni and Phinehas. And it says, "Behold, the days are coming that I will cut off your arm and the arm of your father's house, so that there will not be an old man in your house. And you will see an enemy in my dwelling place, and despite all the good which God does for Israel, and there shall not be an old man in your house forever. So Ahimelech is thinking,
Yeah, he knew that was the case.
yeah. Like, this may be the Grim Reaper.
This may be the curse that God. It's so funny when people think that. They're like, I'm still gonna resist. It's like, God has said it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
This could be it.
How about you being on the right side and choose to stand for the next king of Israel, the man who's going to be the line through which the Son of God is going to come? Why don't you choose to walk? He's like, no, I don't want to be involved in this. I just don't want to be part of this.
Have you ever seen that happen? Like, have you ever seen like people who just refuse to be involved? Like, even though they know God's in this, God is doing something.
Right.
There's something good coming out of this, but out of fear or uncertainty or whatever, they just won't get involved at all.
Especially when it comes to faith matters. We are so skittish in America right now. If you say, hey, stand up for the truth or Christian values or morality, it's like, I don't know. And then one-on-one, they'll talk all kinds of big stuff.
Now, you know me. You know I was going to say something.
You know me, Pastor. I was going to lay him out.
Told him what was up.
I just didn't want to get, I just know I won't. No, you're just a coward.
You're scared. Yeah.
You should have spoken up. Now, I'm not saying go out there and stand for every foolish things, but at least at that point you could have stood up and stood for the righteous thing, but you didn't.
Right.
And so what we find is that David is now face to face with Ahimelech, and he says to him in verse 2, this is 1 Samuel 21:2, the king has ordered me on some business and said to me, do not let anyone know anything about the business on which I send you, for I have, or what I have commanded you. And so David is, in a sense, lying. And what I find very interesting is that when you're with somebody who is fearful, you become fearful.
Yeah, it's going to jump all over you.
Yeah.
It's going to jump all over you.
Fear is certainly
it's a disease.
contagious.
It's a sickness.
It's infectious for sure, because you can't be around. I just have never been around people who are fearful and worryful, and I just can. How strong and brave and courageous can I be? You know what I mean?
No.
It's rare that my courage or even someone else's courage rubs off on someone else unless that person is already strong in the Lord and already kind of knows, like, hey, God is in this.
Yeah, you can be a incredibly courageous person, but if you're surrounded by people who are fearful, it's going to leech that courage away from you to the point where you're just as fearful.
And I see David seeing Ahimelech's fear and being like, oh man, I got to say something.
Yeah.
I gotta say something to get out of this.
That's right.
Rather than just trusting God.
And by the way, what is fear? Have you ever thought about that? What is fear? Scholars, researchers are still unsure, but these scholars, Suomi and Harlow, they ask the question, is fear an emotional state? Is fear some motivational force? Can it be perceived as a stimulus? And they ask these questions because nobody knows. Another author by the name of Kaho notes that it often gets confused with anger, anxiety, and phobia. Anger, anxiety, and phobia. But there's a difference there.
Right.
That's not fear. Because anger incites attack against a threatening object. Fear incites withdrawal.
Yeah, you
run away.
Retreat from it. Yeah. Because it's a threat. There's danger here.
Right.
So to say that it is no different than anger, anxiety, and phobia, I mean, that's not true.
Yeah.
One is active, one is passive. Fear is passive.
And I even think like phobias are typically irrational, right? Like a fear, like if I've got if a bear walks into this office right now, like I'm going to have some fear. But if there was no evidence of a bear coming in here and I was still scared of it, then that would be a phobia.
Yeah, typically an irrational fear response.
Yeah.
Right.
I got
So fear relates to an identifiable object or event. Like anxiety is interpreted as free-floating apprehension and probably incorporates other emotions with fear.
Like I'm just kind of on edge
like
all
the bear
time.
thing you just mentioned. That's like there's no bear in here.
I know, but I'm worried though. It's the only thing.
Yeah, if you see anything dark or fuzzy, you get a little bit.
Oh, that's just David.
Yeah.
So normal fear addresses a realistic danger. Phobia is relatively persistent and irrational fears. Two very different things.
True.
Sometime back, research was done on rhesus monkeys to help us understand how fear works. And so Suomi and Harlow concluded that fear is both inherited and acquired. A certain amount of fear is actually good and healthy, and it bonds us to our loved ones and enhances an existing social relationship. On the other hand, too much exposure to fear stimuli can have undesirable consequences. So if you're constantly watching negative videos or watching videos of shootings and terror or people behaving badly, if I can say that, then you will walk around thinking it can happen any moment. It can happen any moment. Yes, it can, but don't live in fear.
You know, I used to doubt that, but I don't anymore. I used to doubt that fear was something that was inherited, but I remember when I was a kid, my mom was super, super, super terrified of me being around any animals at all. None. Like dogs, cats, definitely no horses, like farm animals. She was just terrified of animals. And I remember always thinking, I will not do this to my kids. I'll never do this. But now when Gavin gets around, like he goes on pony rides and stuff, I don't say anything because I know in my brain this is wrong, but I feel my chest gets tight. And I'm worried. And I'm like, I don't say anything because I know I'll turn into her or I'll just bring this whole thing down. But I don't know what it is. I guess it's just that. It's that
something inherited or something learned through the years that now has become part of your psyche.
Yeah, true.
And you have to fight it and say, no, I'm not. Like swimming. You know, I used to swim in the Tapti River in India. I would go 4 o'clock in the morning. And one time I almost drowned.
Wow.
So I had this inherent fear of water. If I couldn't see the bottom, I wouldn't want to get in.
Really?
And I had to take swimming lessons as an adult. And it was funny because I went to take swimming lessons with these older ladies in the class. And they were like, they thought I was an instructor. So, hi, how are you? I was like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm here to take the class. You taking a class? I said, yes, ma'am. I'm taking a class. Why? A long story, but I got scared one time. So I just want to make sure I don't get my kids scared.
Yeah.
Funny thing was, they told us to put our head in the water. I mean, they start from like scratch.
Yeah.
I was like perfectly fine.
Sure.
And then they said, okay, let's do one lap and you can swim like this and you pull your arm like that. And I was like gone. And they were just like watching me like, you don't need to be here.
They were like, so you know how to swim. You can swim.
There was, by the way, a funny thing was there was a young girl in there. Every time she tried to swim, she would go backwards.
Really?
I don't know how she was doing that.
It's like the form looks correct, but she's just moving
somehow
backwards.
she's moving
like,
in reverse.
How in the world is she going back? Seems like, well, I guess, anyways, it was funny. And then I had to explain to them again. I said, I'm not here to learn the mechanics. I'm here to conquer my mindset. And the biggest part of that whole week, 10 days of swimming lessons was when we got on the high dive and I jumped.
Wow.
That was tough.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I can drown. There's like 15 people sitting here. There are people there who can save me, but I'm still like, what if I don't do this right? What if I break my neck? What if I hit the bottom? It's like, no, it's not going to happen like that. It's a very deep pool. And they're all waiting for me, and they're in the water waiting for me. But I was still terrified.
Oh, I can imagine. Ellie won't jump off a high dive. I can't get her. No, I can't get her to jump off a diving. But she might jump off, but she's not diving.
Yeah,
she's not.
Yeah, we had to dive.
Yeah,
but I think that mental struggle of conquering your fear, I think people need to hear that.
Yeah,
because it really is a fight. It really is battling against this, sort of like almost like pre-programming in your psyche and overcoming that fear.
That's right.
Because otherwise it's going to not only hold you back, but it's going to hold those around you back.
We saw that. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you want to put your daughter on blast. But
Oh,
I remember.
absolutely.
I was thinking about that exactly.
Harley was really scared.
Yeah, so my oldest girl, now she's 11. She's a great swimmer. I mean, loves to swim, loves to dive in the water. There was a time when that was not the case.
I think she was like 9.
Nervous.
No, 8 or 9. Maybe a little younger.
No, I think she was younger than that.
Yeah.
Maybe 7.
Might have been, yeah.
We were on a retreat and there was a pool and we're all hanging out in the pool. There was a deep end. We were trying to get her to jump
Maybe
in.
2018 or 2019. I can't remember.
Yeah, it might have been.
She had floaties on. I mean, perfectly fine to jump in.
She was in no danger. She was gonna just.
But we were all standing there like,
We're all
okay,
standing
come on,
there
jump, come
in
on,
the
jump.
water.
Yeah.
She wouldn't. She just couldn't do it, and she just needed that push. And thankfully, Dr. Shah was there to kind of like,
I gave her a push.
A little push in.
Here you go, and she was in, and then she was fine.
Yeah, it was crazy because she came in. I was like, oh, that's it. And then she came up. She was like, oh, that was fun. I was like, there it is.
That's what we were all trying to tell you.
It's kind of fun. I was like that with the plane. The first time we ever went on a plane, I was like, I had that feeling of like, oh wow, I'll never be scared of this again.
Yeah.
And I remember Dr. Shah was like, hold on, let me get that. I was like, I'll never be scared of this again. And I remember Dr. Shah was like, now you'll never again dread flying because you're afraid. Now you'll dread flying because it stinks.
Yeah. You'll dread it for the reason that the rest of us dread.
Now you're with the rest of us.
Yeah. That's a great reminder for us of that, the importance of conquering your fear. And,
That's right.
We pray that this episode helps you do that. Those of you who are at home listening, maybe you've identified some areas of struggle for yourself. Take steps to conquer that fear, not just for yourself, but for those you're responsible for. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. Write in and let us know what you got from it. 252-582-5028. Or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. Don't forget you can partner with us financially on that same website. Be a part of what God is doing through the Clearview Today Show family, and with us, impact the nations with the gospel. Lots of great content coming your way. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, same time on your preferred listening or viewing platform. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.